Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
Come on, I'm Matt the Clown, but you totally stepped on it.
I'm the Stark Lord. He didn't step on it. He always does that follow-on thing.
And I'm James the Wild Card, and listen here. Quiet.
Okay. Thanks, Navi.
So, now... mark your calendars, Fearless Gamers. All four of us are back on the podcast.
It's true, but after careful consideration, I decided not to endorse your park.
Really?
It's a good idea.
I was going to get you free admission for the rest of your life.
But wow. Is he going to
No, he's not.
I just wanted to get to that. I just wanted to get to that part.
How good is that song?
It's a great song.
It's a good song.
So good, dude. So good.
It is.
Oh, James is getting texted.
Oh, that's just my computer.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing everyone's like phones and computers and crap.
So, how's everybody doing?
Not bad, chilling.
Acceptable.
Cool.
Yeah.
I recently picked up a game called Cube World.
Okay.
How familiar the Fearless Gamers are with it.
You haven't stopped talking to me about it, so I know a lot about it.
So good. It's basically an adventure RPG set in the voxel engine, which is basically the Minecraft engine.
Yes.
So it's all like cube looking and stuff, but it's not. A lot of people have seen it and been like, "Oh, it's a Minecraft knockoff." It actually doesn't play anything like Minecraft. There's no actual crafting. Well, okay, there's crafting, but there's no like put block here,
building
Lego
the whole
style
world
crafting.
type thing.
Right. It's not like Legos. It's much more like. It's sort of like somewhere between like Zelda and Diablo, and I don't really know where to pull the crafting system from, but there's a crafting system.
Honestly, I think it's better to say that the Minecraft was more of a game where you built buildings and modified the landscape, and maybe adventured a little bit, and this game is more about adventuring a lot.
Yeah, it's an adventure game. It's an adventure RPG. You level up, you fight monsters, you explore. It's really cool.
Very interesting.
So, the thing that originally pulled me to the game, though, is that there's an upgrade system. Like, you can upgrade your weapons by literally, like, you go out and you get, like, your iron cubes or whatever. And you have, like, say, an iron sword. You can then take your iron sword and upgrade it by adding cubes to it, and basically drawing out the sword that you want it to be. So you get to decide what your weapon looks like.
That's cool.
Feed your weapon protein cubes now.
Basically. Now, granted, I'm sure there are at least 4,000 people who drew a penis sword the first day. But
most likely, sadly,
that will always happen, unfortunately.
because
they had server issues.
So low. Well, there were server issues, and some worlds you can't get as much resources as other worlds. Because basically, when you start your game, you create your character, and then you create your world. And you create your world by putting in a numerical key called the seed, and then you name the world. So my first world I put in 69, and I named it LOL 69 because I'm immature. My personal world doesn't have a huge amount of iron resources that I've been able to find. However, you can create more worlds and bring your character that you've created into those worlds. So I saw a couple of people had posted other seeds for other worlds to make. One of them was 8675309. Nice. And it's apparently resource rich. Like there's ores everywhere. So I jumped in there today.
It is a good time, right?
Yeah, that's true. I did name the world Jenny.
Nice.
But I'm getting super off track. The game is just really good, and it's in open alpha right now, so it's not complete. And it can get a little buggy. However, if you want to play in the open alpha, it's like £15, so it's like $20. Minecraft did it pretty much the same way, where when they got into open alpha, they charged a small amount of money to basically own the game, and you're there for all the updates, and you get to, sort of help shape the game by being an open alpha tester, and then an open beta tester. And I find that exciting, because that was one of the things I really loved about Minecraft, was like, the community was helping shape the game. Unfortunately, Minecraft's final release was garbage and nonsense, and I don't know what happened. I think it's because they stopped listening to the community, but this is a game...
Well, because they signed up with Microsoft.
They didn't sign up with Microsoft until after the final release, by my knowledge. Okay. So I don't think it's Microsoft's fault. I think Notch, the guy who created the game, ultimately just decided, no, this is where I want the game to go. I don't care what people think. But I'm also not going to put the proper amount of effort into the changes I'm making. And I'm also not going to optimize the system to work with those changes. So now Minecraft runs like a buggy piece of garbage, and I don't want to do 60% of the things that you can do in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I long for the days of open beta, because that's when the game was good. That's not something you should be saying about a game. However, I'm hopeful about this game because there aren't a lot of directions they can take that aren't what they originally planned anyway. Like, they're definitely, unless they decide to start doing a lot of coke and try to emulate Minecraft and go in the opposite direction Minecraft did, odds are they're just going to keep going in the adventure RPG direction and just flesh everything out and make things cooler, and the pet system is going to be cooler, even though the pet system is already really cool. I tamed a bat, I named him Bruce. Like, come on.
Wow. Why would you do that?
Because somebody tamed a crow and named it Russell.
Touché. That's a win right there.
But yeah, no, I highly recommend, if you're into that kind of game, to at least check it out. It's at picroma.com, picroma.com. I think, and many of the fearless gamers would be into it.
And speaking of, you got a question from our last Touching Base episode.
I did.
I think... Oh, never mind. Ignore me. Sorry.
What were you going to say?
I think we should save that question for like a full Touching Base episode, but whatever.
Well, no. This is more of a podcast question.
Yeah?
I mean, it could be... It could be a Touching Base question, but I don't think it needs to be.
Plus, we already have a Touching Base topic for the next one already.
What is it?
Yeah,
we discussed that. It's the whole tournament thing.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's what the question was. I don't remember what the question was.
No.
I read it, and I immediately forgot.
You know what? Read me off the question again, because I don't remember exactly how it's phrased, and I want to answer it properly.
So your goal is to try lots of RPGs, Matt asks. Then what's your favorite, or one that you can recommend, RPG system? And what setting do you like to play in at that moment? I'd like to hear some of that in the ones that in your podcast.
Okay. That's a tough question. Okay, so I can't decide on a favorite, but there are some that I will always love, no matter how good or bad they are. For systems, I'm actually a huge fan of the Mutants and Mastermind system, because it's super versatile. You can run just about any game with that system, because the powers, there's a huge list of the powers, they're all relatively balanced, and you can reappropriate the names to your heart's content. So that's my go-to for like mainstream systems. I also happen to be a big fan of a game called Don't Rest Your Head. I ran like a one-shot of it in college, and then I ran a modified version of it as like a series of one-shots for some other friends of mine. That one is my more rules light option, because basically with that one, like your character sheet is more just a series of questions that you've answered. You don't really have HP, you don't really have stats, you just have a certain pool of like flight or fight reactions, and then like basically don't go insane points.
Okay.
That fuel your powers and fuel your guy. So it's really not so much hard to die, but it's a more cinematic approach and a more story-oriented approach, and that's why I like that. I highly recommend you Google that one. Oh god, there's such a huge list. I really want to try a game called Unknown Armies. I've been looking into those for a while, but I don't know how well that system works. I haven't had a chance to really read the book that thoroughly, but I love the setting on that one. I'm a big fan of Pathfinder as well. Pathfinder is a modified version of D&D 3.5 that is put out by Paizo. That's my go-to for like D&D games for the most part. I'm not actually a big fan of 4th edition D&D, and by that I mean I really don't like 4th edition D&D at all, which is a shame because when it was first coming out, I was really hyped for it, and I was like defending the hell out of D&D 4th edition to people, and then I played it for a while and I just didn't like it.
Why? Can you explain that?
It feels homogenized. Every character I played felt like every other character I played, and that was even across the various roles that they have in the game now. So, like, if I played... I think the first character I played was a striker class. That's like the melee damage class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was cool, but then the next character I played was more of a defender class, I think, and it felt exactly the same. And they were two vastly different classes as far as, like, looking at them on paper. Like, it felt like they were going to play very differently, but ultimately they played the exact same way. And it felt sort of like I was playing Diablo, but at, like, the tabletop. And that's, some people, that's cool, because they did simplify a lot of things. So if you're not into the system part of it, like if you're really bad at the number crunching or whatever, then sure, you know what, maybe it's the game for you. I'm not going to say it's a bad game. I'm just going to say I was really disappointed with it.
Fair enough.
I have to agree with your sentiment on the way 4th Ed did the class thing. I never got a chance to play it myself, but when I was looking into it, it looked, I didn't like how they broke down everything into 4 different things: control, defender, leader, or striker. I didn't like that because, for example, the paladin in 3.5 was way different than 4th. You could play the paladin in 3.5 so many different ways. Yeah. But in 4th, you only can play him that one role, and that's all you can do, and that's it. And I didn't like that. It felt too much like they were trying to make an MMO for the tabletop. Like, we're going to form a raid, and we need 2 defenders, we need a leader, we need 3 strikers, Same thing you do in an MMO going...
That's why I said Diablo as opposed to, I didn't quite feel like WoW, like a lot of people say, but it did feel more like I was playing a video game with restricted options.
Yeah, I mean,
in 3.5 you had splat books upon splat books of feats, and yeah, that was an issue too. Yeah. But even in the core book, you could play a fighter so many different ways, for example.
Exactly, but that's why I put it more like an MMO than Diablo, just because it's almost like if you had enough people playing D&D around the same level, you'd get a text message: "We're forming a raid. Bring your striker." Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Now, granted, these are all personal opinions for me, but yeah, 4th edition was not what I was hoping. I'm trying to think of other. Oh god, there's like a couple of other games that the Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game is really solid if you're into Game of Thrones.
That's interesting. I like that system a lot. We're going to be playing that later today.
Yeah, I bought the book because it was so good.
Nice.
I'm a really... You know what? When it comes to settings, because he did ask about settings, I am in love with the Deadlands setting. The Deadlands setting is... Oh god, it's like that girlfriend you had in college that whenever you get drunk you kind of want to call her. Like that's Deadlands for me, because like I keep looking over at my Deadlands book and I'm like, maybe I'll run you someday soon. But then I'm like, the reloaded system isn't all that good, and neither is the old system for it. And like, I don't know. It's just like I start to remember all the reasons that I broke up with her. But the setting. I don't know if okay, for anyone who's not familiar with the Deadlands setting, basically take light steampunk, the Old West, and zombies and like demons and like Native American magic and like basically take the Wild Wild West starring Will Smith but make it good.
Without the giant spider?
No, the giant spider could stay.
Okay.
So make it like the original Wild Wild West.
Right. Put like zombies and magic in there. It's, you know what? If actually, the Jonah Hex comics are a pretty solid example of what it sorta is like. But I can't even. I don't even want. Dude, I could go into like 3 hours of talking about Deadlands. That's how much I love Deadlands. Oh god, there was another really good superhero system that I played. Austin ran a number of years ago that used cards.
Yeah, that's a card game. I don't remember.
Yeah, do you remember the name of that system? No.
Not in the slide.
I'm gonna Google this card game. Oh god, I gotta put my mic down. Hold on.
So,
talking all about this system stuff, it was a really great system that, a really good system I enjoyed that we never really got to experience. And, I know that the Stark Lord knows, because we had so much hope for this system, because it's a great system, but it was ran terribly.
Oh.
We never got to pick it up again.
Oh, that
Burning
game.
Wheel.
Oh,
Burning Wheel.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh god, Burning
Wheel.
Burning Wheel is a fantastic.
Burning Wheel, and I never got to play it. Basically.
Oh, you got to quote unquote
No, I didn't
play it.
No, I didn't.
Let me tell you, I got to do a demo by the people who made the game, and
Okay.
it just was it was what I wanted out of a system in a fantasy setting. I mean, like, the closest thing to that would be simplified D20 or the way the percentile system like it is in Dark Heresy. But
Okay.
this was basically, I don't know, any Fearless gamers out there who've played Ultima Online, this is like Ultima Online, the tabletop RPG, where like when you use your skills, they actually improve because you use them. And
now, if I recall correctly, this was when you guys tried out this game. You were the captain of the ship, and you never stayed on water at all throughout
Yeah,
the
that was
game.
the game. Let's not get to that yet.
let's, real quick with that, before we get to that, the thing with Burning Wheel is, you had basically physical altercations, like combat, and you had social combat, basically, the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And you picked basically almost certain, let's just say stances to make it easy to talk about it. So if you pick defensive stance and I pick defensive stance, then the scene plays out that we basically aren't really coming at each other that hard. But if I go all out and you go all out, then it's like berserkers fighting each other. And if that's the way it goes, and it gives you certain modifiers, and you get to roll certain dice. And what's cool about it is combat isn't until somebody dies. Combat can go until, you know what, that hurt, I'm done, I'm out, and you're done. Or you could try to kill the person. It doesn't matter. But it was really fluid. The one thing with that game is I highly recommend if nobody plays it and gets those sheets, you need to definitely, what's the word? You gotta code it. You gotta laminate, that's the word. You gotta laminate them, because there's gonna be a lot of erasers.
Yeah.
That was the one good thing about when we ran it. I was working in a print shop and I laminated all our sheets.
But I did a
That was
demo
awesome.
for combat and social combat, and it just felt fluid. Like, if it set the stage for you, you know when people like kind of, they want to have real control of what they're going to do in the combat, but at the same time they want to play out like a movie scene?
Yeah.
The game did that. And
very few games do that well, despite the fact that many games try to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, Burning Wheel did it in a really well way.
It felt very good, and the concept of, hey, there really isn't experience points, you have to use your skills to improve them, is something I like in the practical sense, because, if I just do a lot of, let's just say lockpicking, I can get really good at lockpicking. It doesn't mean I'm a level 12 adventurer. It just means I'm really good at lockpicking. I mean,
yeah.
Right.
It also helps with that whole thing where it's like, I'm doing this, and then, I'm a thief, I've got good in burglary, and I got good at lockpicking. Oh, I'm also now good at diplomacy. Why?
Yeah.
because I felt like it.
Basically, this was just you to play it.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved the way that worked.
Yeah.
It's just the overall skill system.
I still
I'm
have
probably
them
the only one here
somewhere.
that's
I've
not
been meaning to
burning
find
out.
them.
Yeah.
There was a game that we played in where I was a ship captain. I was basically the hook without the hook.
Yep.
And,
Right.
And we were told, oh, don't worry, there's a lot of water. There's going to be a lot of time on the boat. So the first half of the game, because we didn't play the entire thing through, but the first half of the stuff we did play was me and my another person from my ship.
Hi.
Yeah, historical. Ridiculously inland to some castle. Yeah. Ridiculously inland, to the point where it took days of trekking to get there, which was weird. Then, quests, plot happens, quest things go, and we get to the ship, and it's literally a ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, and then we're at the other island. And, I got to do one check for, captaining a ship in, a storm. And it was literally just...
Even though you were promised...
Yes.
That there would be a significant amount of ship stuff.
And that's when the game ended, because we just didn't
We
play.
all just stopped showing up.
But
we did stop showing up.
If it did continue, I wasn't getting off that ship. I was going to find any way to go through big rivers and inlets to just use the ship. And then, if that didn't work, the Clown and I had an idea that we were going to invent cannons and rifles. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing, is my character was he was a noble-born cat burglar, and he only did it because he was bored. He was a bored rich guy. And I definitely knew that going into this situation that this character was going to die, because the guy running it he and I had it out for each other, and character was not a particularly robust kind of guy, and we were going to some weird island, and he was going to die.
Because the island had monsters on it. He basically, when we got there, there's giant moving things in the forest, kind of. There's going to be dinosaurs.
If anyone's seen Lost, the first time that the monster in the jungle was hinted at, that was the exact scene. He actually even referenced Lost in his description of it.
Yeah. Basically, these trees are being knocked down. I'm like, so I'm not getting off the ship. I'm not going over there.
My character was a doctor. I wasn't leaving the boat.
Yeah. So James and I, we were going to make a blacksmith and an alchemist and get together and invent cannons.
Yeah, we were going to basically be the Reese's peanut butter cups of that world going on. Just put the gunpowder in this big tube and put a ball in front of it.
And then put stuff in that.
I'd like to point out one cool thing about the system that our GM did get wrong.
Oh god, I was going to touch on that too. But
the system when making characters is all about building a path and where were you born, and that gives you certain things. How old are you?
What kind of guy are you?
Yeah, it's really cool. Unfortunately, I had read the book the night before, so we went to go sit down to character creation. Someone asked about it, and he's like, "Oh, you can skip that part." And I'm like, "No, you can't. That's actual character creation. You have to do that part."
It was habits and beliefs.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think they're called. Where one is 3 things you always do. For example, I always watch my back. I always look for the exits when I walk into a room, and
I always have sugar in my tea.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're ways of being fluffy while also providing you a chance to keep the GM from screwing you over. And beliefs were pure role playing kind of stuff. And he tried to just skip it.
Yeah.
And it's
well, he does skip all of it, including your path system.
Yeah, I don't know
basically where you were born.
I don't know if he wanted to skip the habit system out of malice or being dumb.
No,
but
he had not read the book.
I still wouldn't have put the wanting to skip the habits thing past him. Because of the way he ran his games.
No, he had
didn't
not
that
read the
also
book.
end up?
I didn't know. He didn't read the book.
Didn't that whole habit thing end up saving your character from being killed because you always looked for the exits and you pointed that out to them?
I think it kept him from getting
when you remember there was a situation where he's like, no, I should know where the exit is. I always check for the exit.
Not for me. That didn't happen to me. My habits were, I always looked for the most valuable things in a room. I did always look for exits, but I never got stuck in a room. And then, there was a third one that was pure fluff. I don't know. There was a funny thing with my beliefs, though, because, two of my beliefs were, whatever, stuck-up rich kid. But then the third one was that I believed that there was never any reason to kill somebody. So there was one scene in the game where I walked in on my character's father strangling somebody to death, and I was just like, it was a scene where I looked at the guy, I was just like, Father, I must protest.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was one of those situations where they're trying to get you to kill someone, and...
No, he was putting me into a moral conundrum, because it was my father, but then, you know, we looked into it, and, like, out of character, yeah, no, he was totally justified with killing that sorry, slipped.
Let's time on that one. Okay, got it.
But yeah, the worst thing about that game is that all the characters were really good.
Yeah.
Like, all the characters we were playing were so cool, and they were stuck in this awful game.
The thing with that is, I think those are some of our best characters due to the way Burning Wheel makes you build the character.
Yeah.
It's like, they were some of our best characters, and I do think you didn't have, like, you know, not getting killed, but I think there was something where it's like you were close to getting caught because you broke in somewhere, but you were like, but I always know the exit, so I'm just gonna leave there. And like we were trying to be like, no, you like something. I thought there was something with you or somebody else. With
Someone
the whole
actually argued their habits at one point. I don't remember who.
It was me. I think it might have been Stan.
Might have been.
Maybe.
But I
don't even remember what Stan was. Stan just like a soldier? I don't remember. Or was that the other guy?
He was a retired knight.
Right. And then there was other guy. I feel bad for other guy. I never remember his name.
Kyle was my butler for all of one session, and then Jess was a hunter for all of one session because she thought Ron was creeping on her.
He probably was.
Oh, he absolutely was.
But those characters were phenomenal. And I just remember one scene where it was just me and the Stark Lord, and we both just, without even timing it, going, we're not stuck up.
Yeah, something like that. They were like, don't stick in, or stick up, or whatever to us, and we just responded together in unison. Perfect.
It was great. Oh, it was so good.
For anyone who is interested, the Burning Wheel book is now the Burning Wheel Gold, which is the latest book in the system. It is currently out of stock on the Burning Wheel website, but it's only $25.
BurningWheel.org. They also apparently just had a Kickstarter for some other game, and they have a sci-fi version called Burning Empires.
Yep, which is still available. That's $40.
Yeah,
so
I'm really
Burning Wheel's actually not too expensive to get started.
If you're looking for a good roleplay game, I say check it out. They had a good, we never really played the magic system because we actually started playing before they had a magic system, if you guys remember. But their damage system and their wound system and their world were pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a shame I never got to play that game.
One day we'll have to run it.
It's really cool. I saw my books. The cool thing about being at the demo with the people who, like, the two guys who created it, basically, is they had a stash of books that were, because the game wasn't out yet when I demoed it. Yeah. At the convention, but the book it already went to the print shop. Everything it was basically going to be released in a couple of months. But they had a small stash of the two books they had, and I got them and they signed it.
Yep.
And that
I
was really
still have
cool.
them too. And Ron all have signed copies of them.
Yeah, and it was just really cool because they were saying how, okay, we have this, magic system's coming, and it did, and then they had the sci-fi thing, which was just cool. Like, it's just, the way the Burning Wheel thing goes, I highly recommend it, just for the way the character creation is, and the way it plays out, when you play it correctly.
Yeah, I would love to get in on a game that was run properly.
Yeah, the problem with, I don't say the problem with the one downfall to Burning Wheel, and it's not really a downfall, it's just an inherent weakness in RPGs. It's really hard to do an army on army thing, or to have
the only game that does
like 25 people attack 5 people, which is what tried to happen when we had a whole bunch of orcs attack us, but that's not the way it's meant to run, because it's 25 versus 3. It's just not fair in general in RPGs.
The only games that do that well are the Dark Heresy system does, or at least the Space Marine one does a good job of having hordes to fight, and then L5R has good army fighting rules. Like
L5R has a good system for that.
I like L5R in general.
Yeah, because it's less about, like, for those who don't know, it's less about you fighting one-on-one. It's you doing, like, command checks to see how well you command your army to fight in the battle.
And they do the flow of the army or the fight, it's very much about the flow, but, like, are you expanding or climaxing towards winning? Are you losing and falling back? Like, it's just got a cool system for it.
And Deathwatch implemented the whole fighting against a horde of opponents, which can be used in any of the 40K or any of those systems. And they did a very good job of fighting against hordes, because that's in any type of RPG setting, scenario, whatever it is, if you're the heroes, it's always so heroic of a scene to just be battling against quadruple or more your number and coming out on top.
Wasting them all.
That game, like that one Deathwatch game that we did, was so awesome. I really want us to do another one.
It was fun.
They did a good job.
Wait, which one?
The one Deathwatch where you played Master Ambrose.
Yeah.
And we saved everybody from a vortex grenade.
Yeah. Well, you two did.
It's just the Deathwatch it got it. My favorite thing of the entire session is when your character Ambrose tripped on his own gore because he bled out so much.
And was that because I accidentally summoned the Demon Prince?
Probably.
Yes, the Demon Prince then cut me open, and I slipped on my own insides.
For those who don't know, this was probably the greatest moment in the game because I did hear the end of it since it happened. After every session was we were chasing down a train that these orcs hijacked, going towards an Imperator-class Titan, and we had to stop the train from getting there. And there was a weird boy on the train, and he kept shooting lightning at us. So I said, okay, I'm going to fire a psychic power at him when he appears to try and throw him off. So I did all the super boost stuff, so I automatically had a Perils of the Warp essentially happen. I was like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? It's no big deal. And, of course, I rolled the highest level you can get, which is summoning a Demon Prince to that plane, who won't go away until the person who summons him is dead.
Or you kill the prince.
Yes.
That was the second highest. The highest would have been it gobbled you up. The warp just
okay.
You die.
And the greatest moments was I had like an invone shield going. So I get up, I start walking towards him like, okay, I got this. I flip my sword around, then I went, oh crap, I moved, I lost my shield, and then he punched me in the face.
Yeah.
That was a bad day.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I love role-playing games, incidentally. Because you walk away with so many stories, both good and bad. I don't know, there's something about it that, like...
It's fun. It's literally building your own adventure.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. But, like, I don't want to say it's the ultimate video game. Obviously, it's not a video game, but it's like the perfect video game you want to play because you got to basically push your hands in it.
What I like about it the most is also the social aspect because it's the one time I get to see a lot of friends at one time.
Yeah, and you have a good time with it, and that's the important part: is having a good time with it. If you got a really uptight group, it's not that.
Oh fun. Yeah, there's plenty of ways to ruin a role-playing game. I think we've all experienced that. Yeah. Real quick before we continue to talk about how great role-playing is, I just compiled a list of games that people should Google.
Okay.
The first one, I found the name of that superhero game that uses the cards. It's called With Great Power. I highly recommend you look into.
Yes.
I then also recommend you look into Feng Shui, Anima, L5R, Scion, The Little Fears, Kobolds Ate My Baby, Ninja Burger, All Flesh Must Be Eaten / All Unisystem, and I think that's it for the moment.
Inomine.
Oh, Inomine, that's the one I was trying to remember. Oh my god, I love Inomine, dude.
I have a few Inomine books. Never got to run it, but I've been reading up on it a lot. One of my favorite artifacts is like the 30 or 50 slices of cheese that all just one block.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
I had the I did run the one game because I have the one Inomine book, and it was great because one of our friends decided to chase down the demons that were in a helicopter, and he decided to go full angel form on it, and the demons called in their news crew, and he appeared on When Angels Attack Part 6. It's terrible.
Oh,
but it's good.
That's a good game, though.
You know what else I enjoy? I really like, now there's a lot of balance problems when you try to bring it together, but the old World of Darknesses. Now, it's really hard. The new World of Darkness I like, and New World of Darkness is very easy to have more of a cosmopolitan system of werewolves and vampires and all that playing together. Because in the old world, it's kind of like, well, I kill you now because you're a vampire. It doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
But, I like Old World, and Old World also had, I can't remember the name of it now. No, yes, again, Demon the Fallen.
Demon the
Fallen
was
that.
good, cool.
Demon the Fallen was
You know
good.
who loved Demon the Fallen? Louis Posen. Phil and James aren't going to know who that is. But,
I know Lewis. I played games
right, you
around
met
for
Lewis.
Lewis.
Right.
Yeah, I killed him once in a game.
Louis Posen
And he killed me once
loved Demon the Fallen.
Yeah.
Loved it.
That's probably one of the few White Wolf systems I haven't played. I haven't played that, Mummy,
Mummy
and
bad.
and Demon Hunter.
Mummy, let's
And
not
Hunter.
talk about Mummy.
Hunter the Reckoning.
Let's not talk
Hunter
about
was also bad.
And I was in a Wraith game, but I was a werewolf,
Wraith-
and everyone
Wraith is
else
cool.
was.
Wraith is one of the best things they've ever made.
It really is. I will say one thing. I know I just missed half of it, but with New World, Matt before said like how mutants and masterminds get for playing just about anything. New World of Darkness, I feel the same way for lower level stuff. Like there was a time where we just played anything we felt like using New World of Darkness. It's really easy to modify.
Didn't we do a Marvel superhero game once with that?
We've done Marvel. We've done.
We did
Liquid
Marvel. I did. That was the first system I used for Superheroes Anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't work well for Superheroes Anonymous because
It didn't
Superheroes
work well
Anonymous.
for Superheroes Anonymous because I didn't know how to run a game.
Also, it's
But that
over
was
the top.
so much fun. Oh, we had so much
Coconut
fun
milk.
with that game.
Coconut
Yeah,
milk.
Demon the Fallen though. The thing about Demon the Fallen is it was the biggest powerhouse of the entire old world.
Yeah.
So if you really want to put them together, Demon the Fallen will just break everything, including Wraith, because Demon the Fallen was just you're a freaking demon. But it was cool about it is you had an apocalyptic form for the demon class of your choice that you were or whatever it was. That was pretty cool. You got certain bonuses for that. Another thing that was really cool about it is instead of having like like vampire had a blood pool, whatever it is, they were based on faith. So you had to really reap faith from like the masses, which was pretty cool. So one of the like demons things is they basically parade around as false prophets. So like they would have their own little like religious cult type thing going on. They just have the faith, to spend. But that was just a cool concept. It's nowhere near Anomone because Anomone is so drastically different. But it was still a good
Anomone
feel.
was good.
Anomone is cool.
Do you remember the 40 slices of cheese?
Yes.
Yeah, we already brought that up.
Oh, darn.
I just love that because that's an artifact of like evil. It's just 40.
I remember when we had the I was playing with Frank in my first game when we had a total stare down in the middle of nowhere because none of us had etiquette, so we didn't know what we were doing was out of place for humans.
There you go.
And we were like, does anyone have etiquette so they could tell us to stop doing this?
Yeah, I like it was mentioned briefly Wraith the Oblivion. That game, it's so cool because you have the shade or whatever, like your anti-self trying to destroy you.
Yep.
And
your good self and your evil self.
And the big thing about it is a big part of that game is having your death. So the big part of that thing is role playing how your character dies to become a Wraith.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole world, how it's overlaid over the real world, it's just so cool. And
There's so many cool things you do with it role playing, like the shade, like you just mentioned, your evil self. It was cool that you could basically have another player play it occasionally and actually try to kill you and the rest of the party.
that's how they recommended doing it. It's basically, if you got 3 players, everybody shifts their shade character to the left or the right. So you act whenever the shade character comes up, you're role playing that character. And what I liked about that is, depending on how big the group is, there's still gonna be people left out if you guys split up. But at least it won't just be like one-on-one with the you guys can have some interaction at the same time.
What was really neat is Frank used to say what he used to do with the games was he'd give everybody a mask, and when you were playing the other person's shade character, you'd put on like the little masquerade mask so everyone knew that you were now no longer your character, you were playing the shade character.
That's a good way to help denote it.
That way, people were like, "Wait, are you or are you the shade right now?"
And the thing about Wraith, unless you're playing a Tal Mahira vampire game, or unless you're playing specific talk to the dead werewolf stuff, you really can't interact with the others. Like Wraith and Demon are really the two that would be played on their own. No matter how hard you try to incorporate it, you could, but it's just Wraith is so much easier when it's just Wraith. and it's got just that feel to it that it's just Wraith, I would say, is the one that they have probably the best potential for just pure role playing with, because that's really what the game is about. The game is basically about just coming to terms with everything. It's about role playing, and
there was literally the game that I played, and my werewolf character appeared in the Umbra area where they were, and it was literally just a game of the 4 wraiths trying to convince the werewolf to take them back with them.
Right.
And that's all it was them trying, okay, we'll help you find a way home, and then each of them in turn was going, okay, now what can I do to screw everybody and have this guy take me with him?
Yeah, but, so Wraith has a good potential. The old world stuff is fun. New world stuff is alright. Scion is also really cool. I never got a chance to play that.
Yeah, Scion is one of those games I rattled off. Yeah. Scion is one of the coolest concepts, and I think from what I've read in the books, it's been really well executed.
But
I also love that it's got 3 tiers. Like,
it does.
You have Scion Hero, Scion Demigod, and then Scion God, or whatever it is. And it's like, there's 3 separate core rule books, basically, depending on how bad you want to be.
Yeah, Scion Hero, Demigod, and God. Basically, how you basically become a god.
Right, like, you start out as young Hercules. And you work your way up. It was cool. It's really cool. I highly recommend looking into it if you haven't. But yeah, no, I think.
You know what was a very good system also? Trinity.
Trinity, I like.
I think it was very good for what it represented. It had very good. We never used the actual ship controlling stuff, but it had good actual piloting ship stuff in there.
Which game? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Trinity.
And
we never played that game right either with certain groups. I just want to.
No, we never did. When it's played right, the thing with Trinity though is either you allow the psychic / mutants or you don't. You can't mix them because they're so potentially overpowered that it's not we ran into that situation. Granted, we got it wrong, but still, just the capability of that, you have to either allow it or disallow it. It's always the biggest problem with Trinity.
I remember in the one game that we used to run in college, it basically went, so I'm not a Scion, so I guess I'll just sit here and let them do everything for me.
Didn't I end up drinking Windex in that game because there was nothing I was able to do?
You spent 3-4 hours sitting by yourself in that game. I'm glad I wasn't there.
Okay, there was a game where we needed to get onto a ship. And we sat there and we're like, okay, we have this foolproof plan. We spent
we came up with 3 or 4 plans.
Planning out how we're going to do this. And so we're like, okay, we're going to get one person in as a maintenance crew. Oh no, you can only get one of you guys on as a maintenance crew. Okay, I'll go back and we'll be part of plan B. And then conveniently, our one plan that we spent 45 minutes working out could not happen. And so we then spent 3 hours doing nothing. That's when you decide to drink the Windex out of the bottle.
Right, because in that game, the only 2 people who could get... Yeah, the only 2 people who could get onto the ship were the people with psychic powers, because... Okay, I'm gonna be honest. The guy running the game had a crush on one and a man crush on the other. And the rest of us could just go, do whatever the hell we wanted. So there was literally, I think there were 3 or 4 of us doing nothing.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then we got docked experience for it.
Yep. Until the very end, we did slightly help them get off the ship, and then the GM turned to us and went, "Well, you guys did absolutely nothing this game, so I'm not going to give you XP." And it's like, we couldn't do anything.
I almost punched him.
That is more of that's a way of GM doing it wrong than the system hurting you. But
Essentially, Fearless Gamer. That's the same GM that screwed up Burning Wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
most of our horror stories come from that guy.
Yeah, we had some of our best characters and worst moments with that team.
In fact, I think all of my true horror stories come from him, and I want to be clear about. I want to be clear about that because, I have a lot of horror stories, and I've had so many more great experiences. It's just the nails that are all crooked stick out more. But I think overall he's the only one I've had truly awful experiences with.
Now the thing with that is, we played in another Trinity system with the same GM, and that went all right until we had like an encounter with another group, which was all Scions, and we were not any allowed to be. Yeah. So then I remember at the end of
it's the same setting. It was actually the same character I was playing.
Yeah. And we were supposed to be we were supposed to basically be Firefly, and that was the original game. And then he made another game that ended up having Scions in it, and then the two games met, and it just did not work.
No, but it didn't work. It worked so not at all. Like I can't even put it in proper sentencing. That's how bad it didn't work. But at the end of it, we had this big fight. Firstly, apparently, if I get shot with a laser beam and the engines go out, I slow down in space, number one. Number two, I had 10 dice, which is the max you could have for piloting, and I still would fail the most basic of tests, like docking with another ship. Number three...
Well, he made docking with a ship, level, ridiculous difficult.
Yeah, number three, it's weird. We try to live, we nearly die. Then at the last game, we tried to kill ourselves, and we couldn't.
The best, one of the
that.
best moments that I can remember in that was, there was two. One was when we went to a pawn shop, and the owner of the pawn shop pulled out a shotgun and started firing because 3 people came into his store within 5 minutes of each other, and that was suspicious.
Right. None of us were doing anything weird.
No,
and
we
then he just opens fire.
And then we noticed the guy's got like a 20 dice pool to his gunfire.
Yeah, no, he's using like master level amounts of dice, and it's like, who is this guy?
and then doesn't the place blow up?
I think
Did
so.
He blow up his shop at the end?
I think we blew his shop up.
And then another great moment that, well, there was like 2 others, but I think we talked about one already. But one was a dude was falling down an elevator shaft, and your character, Matt, jumped down the elevator shaft and was like, "I'm going to shoot a grappling hook for him to catch."
Yeah,
and so he goes, "Okay," and he fires. He rolls perfectly.
I rolled like critical successes.
Yep. So now, naturally, what would happen is, he rolled so well. Apparently, he shot the grappling hook through the guy's chest, and Matt was sitting there going, "I was shooting away from him so he could catch it."
Screwed it up.
That was always what happened in his games, though. The better you did, the worse things happened.
I just that entire game series was basically for me, because I was a pilot, was Trinity sitting in the pilot's chair, waiting for the crew to get back.
And you refused to teach me how to pilot.
Yeah, because I didn't want to leave the chair, because I was the safest person.
James, it was sitting in the pilot's chair, waiting for the crew to desperately need you to come save us.
I was, to put it in perspective, my character was a pilot and then a gunslinger. He looked like Clint Eastwood. He smoked a cigar, and he sat in the pilot's chair all the time until everything went down, and then he had to try and save them.
Saved us every time.
Starklord, remember when we broke into that military satellite?
Oh yeah, he lost his arm, right?
When we what? Sorry,
we broke into a military satellite, and we kept using Davis as an excuse because everyone kept calling him this douchebag and everything. And then we get up to the final commander, and he ended up being Davis.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. So all of his dudes on an open military channel are actively insulting this man while under his command.
Listen, there was a lot of.
And then there was the guy. Then there was the whole dark matter in my blood thing.
No.
Let's not talk about that.
And how you destroyed the whole villain.
Oh, well, until Austin screwed it up. Thanks, Austin.
Oh, and then, remember when we crash landed and we had to go outside to operate the auxiliary flaps to maneuver it manually?
Yeah. And when you got the ship fixed, you had a super death missile, but they welded the missile pod shut.
Yeah, because they didn't know what the hole was for. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
They're ship mechanics.
Why didn't you do it?
But we put it this way. We lost all control of the ship. The ship was crashing. Fine. It made sense. Our ship was a POS. But that was the beauty of it. So apparently, the fly-by-wire of like the fly-by-cable auxiliary mechanical controls for the thing to stabilize it, we so brilliantly decided it should go on the outside of the ship, and we bought it that way and didn't fix that. So the captain, who was the Starkler, had to go out in our one spacesuit and surf the ship and manually activate these things so I could control from the inside. And then even despite my amazing dice pool and rolls, we crashed horribly anyway.
Yeah. That game turned into consistently bad stuff happens to the crew. I try to save them. It goes wrong. James saves the day. Then we have to crash the ship, and I have to do something outside the ship and almost die.
I still couldn't get over the fact that they welded the missile pod shut.
Yeah. I can't figure out why they would do such a thing.
And then they fixed it, and we launched, and we ran out of gas again, because apparently they don't fill it up when they fix it, right?
Yeah.
No, we went to the worst mechanics in the entire universe.
Yeah. Double price.
Yeah.
Yep. We went to like those backwatered space stations, and they're like,
it was Deliverance. It was Deliverance in space.
Ding, 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 ding.
And just for this game, so you understand, this was a full campaign we played in this. That's why we have so many stories of that. This wasn't one we stopped. We learned after this to stop showing.
Months.
Yeah.
We spent months of our lives on this.
Oh, well, the first game was good.
You want to see some rage right now? How about that?
That's because it was exactly what happened in
which vampire
game? Don't you mention that game.
Hey,
where the Star-Lord became like a magical being that could do nothing, and then...
Oh, that I was thinking a different one.
And then, like, I was played in my basement a lot of the time, and then,
Yeah, that one.
Which one was
up. That was the one where you asked where the elevator was going to show up.
Yeah.
That was the best. The big bad villain, which was like a super demon, shows up, was like asking us
super
the whole
demon
big monologue.
Vampire, let's be serious.
Yeah. I forgot he was a Venture Vampire also. Was about to kill us all. He's all like, big monologue, do you have anything else to say? And then James spent the whole time like by the elevator, he's like, is this thing going to show up?
Yeah, I kept pushing the button.
It was like the best part of the whole game.
It was so bad. Oh my!
That was the air map game, right?
Yes.
That was air map.
There were some good quotes that came out of that one.
Good quotes, good fun times that we forced upon ourselves with it, but it got so bad that alternate reality happened, and I was playing a Malkavian vampire who was paranoid and obsessive compulsive, and I never once had a roll to not freak out when we went into an alternate dimension where the sun was out.
Yeah. And the world was on fire too at one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of, I think, my favorite moments that I ever probably my favorite moment in a game of White Wolf that I ever did was when I did the swap out from old to new. That was probably my favorite moment that I ever created. I think Matt was the only one for that one, where the villain created so much paradox that the world
that everything
essentially
just went
reset itself. And they ended up in New World of Darkness.
Yeah.
Oh, you remember that time I ended up at the tree? James, were you there for that?
I remember that story.
I was not there.
For what?
I wasn't there for it, but I remember the story.
What's tree?
Same role-playing group. Mage game.
He
End of the world.
ended up with so much paradox that he turned into a tree.
I wanted to point out that I was the only person in the entire party that was trying to help the party. And of course, I get punished for that by getting turned to a tree and dying. Well, and only one other person in the group felt bad. Stan was like, I am so sorry that happened to you, because I saved his life doing it. And the other person in the party was, let's not talk about her, I kind of hate her, in-game and out-of-game, because she was not a good person.
Yeah, wasn't that something where like you grew roots or something to get people to climb across, and you ended up turning into the tree of the roots?
Yeah, like basically, like world was literally collapsing, universe ending. We had to get to like a tower because this was poorly based off the Dark Tower, which has nothing to do with anything I'm about to talk about, but whatever. So we're getting to the safe place, but then people got stuck on the wrong side, so I'm like, well, I'm a life mage. I will make this tree over there, roots extend so they have something to grab onto and bridge, and the roots went through me.
It was really dumb, especially considering like the way he views things being coincidence is having a lighter and shooting a gun through it to make a fireball, but that doesn't make any sense, period.
I mean, I wasn't trying to do anything coincidental at that point. I was like, I was going to take the paradox, but I wasn't expecting
Yeah, but like, that was considered coincidental. That's what I say. The fireball thing was considered coincidental. But, no, the vampire game went horribly awry, because it started off as all vampires, and then I felt bad because another one of our friends, Mike, got killed off like twice because the GM didn't end up having a disagreement with him, so he turned it into in-game. But and then so Stark Lord's a Tremere.
That was an awesome
vampire thing.
That was
and then he gets I don't know what happened. He took the wrong pill, I should say. He was supposed to become this cool mystical magical being that could never do anything.
I think it was like he drank from a mage and then died or something like that.
I was taken away by evil mystics and basically alien probed and turned into a being that could modify reality, but it was never useful.
But could never do anything with it.
Yeah,
I'm sure if I said, hey, make me a coffee, a character could do that, no problem. But
no, I couldn't. I couldn't manifest the gas mask. Got half of one once. When I tried to, when we were on top of a museum after like the world flooded, I went to pull like a weapon out of the museum that I know was there because we walked by it, and the GM said no because it's like it doesn't exist anymore because you can't see it. I'm like, what? Come on, I need a harpoon right now, guy.
I remember the one time when we did that.
Oh God! Oh God!
Did you remember the big fight?
I got a flashback. Oh God! So we were up against an actual like god or something.
It was an angel.
And we had found like the spear of destiny, like the spear of Longinus, and oh God! And so we're fighting this guy, and he wants the spear, or at least everything has made it seem like he wants the spear, and we're just getting our butts touched because we can't hurt this guy. And then after the combat, afterwards somehow, I don't know how we got through it, but afterwards, oh my God, this mother effer says to us, well, why didn't you just throw the spear at him? That would have killed him outright. And it took every ounce of willpower I had not to strangle him with the strings of my dice bag.
I want to put this because it was a 3-hour combat. I was trying to summon a sea monster, which never showed up even though I got like 10 successes.
And we were in the middle of the ocean.
Matt was physically fighting with the guy for the spear, and while I was doing that, one of the other players was trying to stop him, which made that combat take like 2 hours longer because she went evil or something.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
Trying to help fight the other dude.
There was a solid hour and a half of just basically Matt and the other player fighting with us trying to.
All I have to say is, screw you, Starklord, because the one chance I had to off the character that was because my character knew she was basically possessed to be like against us.
Yeah. I
had the one chance to off it, and you put your hand in the way and basically like did some magical. One time your magic worked and basically stopped the bullet from hurting.
Yeah. One thing I have to bring up to the Fearless Gamers is the one person that we're talking about has a very tendency to bring up these massive villains, which, like, you know, and sets a point. Like, a good example is the Lance. You know, he wants the Lance. He's like, the Lance will give me ultimate power, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, don't give him the Lance. And then you find out that the thing the villain wants is what the villain needs to be destroyed. And then he's like, why didn't you do that? And you're like, well, you never indicated that would do that. You indicated that giving it to him was bad.
What he'll also do is he'll throw you up against, like, Joe Cop, street cop guy with maybe a revolver. But then all of a sudden his revolver shoots friggin' missiles, and he's got lightning powers, and he can't be killed by mortal means. But then he'll throw you up against a cyborg that is thousands of years old, literally the Terminator after thousands of years, who will jump off of your ship with a nuclear missile on his shoulder, hit Mars with that nuclear missile, but outrun the explosion, and then say, why didn't you guys fight him? You could have taken him.
Yes.
That did happen.
That's
when he said that, we all yelled.
Now, these will also be in games, like, for example, in the game with the cyborg, I had asked him if I could make a cyborg, and he said, no, cyborgs don't exist.
Yep.
At this point, if it weren't for the fact that I'd probably break something, I would have just dropped my mic and walked away.
But, you know, I mean,
that's
how bad it was with that. I mean, the thing is, the game...
Remember when we...
The games, like the vampire game, the Trinity game, it started off enjoyable. It started off fun.
The first couple of sessions were great.
And then it always devolves into... And I think it's because, you know, whatever Stephen King novel he's reading at the time, it devolved into that setting horribly, and then what we couldn't make, or what was basically not allowed, became our villain. And we're like, but how do?
I'd like to point out that he was reading the Dark Tower series, and none of the games have anything to do with it, even though he based it all on it. He never finished the books. I have read further into that series than he has at this point, and I haven't finished
Don't you love how he called his space game his magnum opus?
I thought he was calling the Pandora game his magnus opus.
Wasn't
I think
that
they
his
were both
space
his magnus
game?
opus.
No, the Pandora game was the one he put on his live
Oh
journal.
God! We can't talk about Pandora. That's a whole podcast.
Well, it is. We won't open that box right now.
Remember Black Damage?
Don't
yes.
bring the black damage.
I'm the one who took Black Damage. You.
And no, you and another character took black damage, and the other character could heal it faster than you.
You weren't supposed to
heal
heal
it
it
at all.
Unhealable.
I couldn't heal it.
unhealable.
I wasn't allowed.
Yeah, but the other person could.
Black damage, for those that didn't know, basically we're playing Trinity. Trinity runs on the same thing as other White Wolves. They have bashing, lethal, and aggravated damage.
This was the vampire game, Bill.
Yeah, it was a vampire game? Right, whatever. It's one of the White Wolf games. He added a new level of damage that was permanent, and it was called black damage. You just filled in the box, you never got to heal it. Except someone could heal it for some reason.
You were a girl out of
Yes.
character, then you got, you were whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Oh
I remember
God.
the best moment
Oh
that
my
we
God.
did was when me and Matt schooled the other players in the game with our vampire magic stuff and werewolf stuff. Remember that?
No.
We were in. Okay, you were a werewolf. You and another character, Bob, were a werewolf.
Oh, that was my
Me
bone
and
gnar.
Cohen-
Yeah, you and
Yeah,
Cohen. You
we're
and Cohen
vampires.
just pulled the best combo ever, and I tricked Bob into going just head first into the meat thresher.
Essentially what happened, for everyone knows is basically this evil spirit came to all of us and was like, they're going to betray you, you should kill them. And me and the vampire, I was a Lasombra, he was a Ventru, and we're like...
No, he was
Ravnos.
Ravnos, yes.
Yeah.
We're like, you know what? Yeah, the werewolves have been talking smack about us, let's go over here, let's set up a trap, it'll be awesome. And he's like, okay, I'll make it so our scent is over here, you can put a shadow there, and we'll do some crazy stuff. And we're like, okay. Then the evil spirit went to Matt and Bob and did the same thing, and Matt went, I want the mages, you can have the vampires. And we're like, okay, we got this. And then he goes to the mages.
Real quick to explain the dynamic between Bob's character and my character. Whenever I played a werewolf, I would play what was called a bone gnar, and they were like they were like the poorest of the poor, and everyone always kind of crapped on them. And Bob was playing like one of the ruling class.
With the storm.
Yeah.
I didn't like him much, so I was like, I just picked the easier opponent in an attempt to get him killed. And boy, did it work.
And then they went to the mages, and the two mages were like, no, we can get along. They won't betray us, that thing. They were
like a Yu-Gi-Oh episode.
Yep. And so we all get to this spot. Matt reams on the mages.
Hell breaks loose.
And then the other werewolf runs where we want him to go, and I'll grab him with these shadow arms that start draining his energy. And then the other vampire makes a giant, Venus flytrap illusion come out because he has harsh illusion, the thing that makes illusions feel real, to just mash on him. And then I turn into my horde form, and we just start wailing on this character. And then you started beating down the mages until the mage used her I win button to reset everything.
Here's what happened with the mages. I would have completely ruined Rose. I would have ended up eating the corn out of her butt. But she used time magic to slow me down, so I was only getting half actions. And then Kelly, who I was dating this girl at the time, but Ron definitely had a thing for her because she was cute, because I have good taste. But she had gotten this it was like a little button, it was literally just a button. And nobody knew what the hell it was. Well, it did, but she presses it, and Ron's like, "Oh, well, what's the one thing you're thinking?" And she's thinking, "Die." And a beam of silver shoots straight through the character's heart, and I'm just instantly dead. No rolls at all. And then Bob tears his character sheet in half.
Well, no, what happened then was his time reversed because of paradox.
That was after Bob tore his character sheet up, and after I had quote unquote died.
Oh, I remember us teleporting back, me going
That
into
happened.
back...
That happened after.
Yeah.
That happened after Bob quit, basically, because he was getting so thoroughly destroyed. After I hit the ground, because the god that had caused all this showed up in sort of like reverse time to be like, haha, I have pooped on all of you.
Yes, and then he was wondering why we weren't working together.
Right, like the moment that god showed up, he thought that we would all be like, oh, we've been tricked. But no, I think you and Cohen went back to destroying Bob.
Yep, that's what he ripped up his character sheet.
I think I rushed the god because I knew what Kelly had. I was like, well, if I fight the mages, I'm screwed, so I'll fight the god. And I think Cohen took a second to, like, make a couple of copies of me to help me out. But you guys went straight back to what you were doing. And it was the best thing of all time. Because Bob had already torn his character sheet up, and Ron had always been like, no, don't rip it up, you're fine, there's a thing coming. Like, Ron had basically, like, played his hand that, like, something cinematic was gonna happen. But it didn't matter at all. I think at that point Bob left the table.
Yeah.
Like, I think Bob actually just got up and walked away at that point.
What happened? And the thing was, he was like, "Come on, guys, you're supposed to unite under a common foe now." It's like they tried to kill us.
Yeah, vampires are vindictive and werewolves.
Did it happen again after that session?
Yeah, we did have one game after that, and then it stopped.
Yeah, because I think we were all just against each other.
Yeah, we were all against each other. I remember us going into, like, different dimensions, and in one dimension we found out that Nerf made army weapons.
I'll kill you for reminding me of that.
So, fearless gamers, I'm going to give you guys a wildcard pro tip. Don't throw gods against your party in a role-playing game when gods are not meant to be a part of the game. Like in,
I will add an addendum. If your players are playing gods,
yeah, that's what I said. It's not part of the role-playing game. It's like if you're playing a bunch of
be careful
people,
with gods.
Don't throw. When you start throwing a being called gods into things that you're not having a group of gods, like you're not playing a game where they're playing a pantheon and then you throw another god in there. If they're playing regular people or even vampires and mages, you're either playing magical people. You don't throw something called a god or a goddess against them because that equals win button.
Yeah. Because of divine intervention.
Yes. They are the divine intervention.
Be careful of gods and also being a prick.
Yes. Don't do that either. But the thing is, if you have to, and this is one thing I think to help people who may be trying to run a game with their friends, when you start off with a certain criteria, a certain recipe going, okay, it's going to be vampires, it's going to, let me use that as an example, it's going to be vampires, it's going to be low-key, it's going to be in this one city. Even if you get a flash of inspiration from a movie, a game, just out of nowhere, stick to your guns.
Don't bring it in.
Stick to your guns because that's how you didn't build it to have this other stuff in there, and therefore things were not made accordingly.
And also, like, going off of, say for something, if you want, like, a good example, you want to do, if a player introduces, an element that they want to do, but you don't want them to do it because that's supposed to be the villain, you can't just say, no, it doesn't exist, and hope that they'll just play around it. Do something like, a good example would be, the tech was there, but now it's kind of outlawed because of bad crap happening.
You could just say, I really don't want you to do that because it'd be too much expense on character sheet. Just make, you have to do it in a way.
You can just say, I don't want you to do that because that's the idea I had for the main villain. Just be honest. Even if your honest answer is still sort of like not an answer that's great, your players will still appreciate the honesty as opposed to a flat out lie.
Yes.
How long have we been doing this though? Is this
we are out of time now.
So I'm gonna say I got nothing.
So, thank you all for listening. If you haven't, subscribe and like us. Check us out on Facebook. And if you haven't checked out our contest yet, we are giving away a Warmachine Warcaster, the Clockwork Angel one. That's happening in a matter of days, actually.
Really?
So sign up.
2 days after my birthday, the 10th.
Oh, there you go.
Enter.
Enter to win because we can't.
Oh, yep. we'll put a video link in the description. All you have to do is go to the video, subscribe to us, and type in entered. And you can do it again on our Facebook page if you want to get 2 entries. It's really cool. And that is all for right now. So until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
This is Matt the Clown.
Whoever I am.
And James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace it out.
Toodly doodly.
Have a good one, guys.